Dock 9 was always loud. Engines roared. Traders shouted. Metal feet clanged against the deck plates. The air smelled of oil, smoke, and strange alien perfumes that drifted from the thousands of travelers passing through every hour. Ethan Cole stood in line at the immigration terminal, exhausted after a 12-hour shift unloading cargo for more freighters. His shoulders ached, his back burned, and his hands were black with machine grease. He just wanted to get home, eat something cheap, and sleep. But the line was long, and the clerk behind the counter was moving slower than a frozen droid. Ethan sighed. The station lights above flickered once, then steadied again. The air conditioner hummed like a tired beast. A group of insectoid aliens chattered nearby, their mandibles clicking softly. He stared down at his credit balance on his datapad. Barely a few hundred credits left. Rent was due in 2 days. His ship repairs were still unpaid. He rubbed his temple. Just another day in paradise, he muttered. Ahead of him in line stood a small, thin alien with pale gray skin and bright silver eyes. The being looked nervous, its 3-fingered hands clutching a worn leather pouch. Its clothes were simple and torn at the sleeves, and it stood a little too stiffly as if trying to hide fear. When the alien reached the counter, the clerk, a bored-looking humanoid with a half-shaved head, asked without looking up, "Entry fee, 5 credits, next." The gray alien blinked.
Fee? I
was told there is safe passage for refugees. The clerk finally looked up. Safe, yes. Free, no. 5 credits or no entry. Station rules. The alien looked down at the pouch and opened it. Inside were only a few worn coins and a small glowing crystal. "Please," the alien said, voice trembling. "I have traveled far. My world, it is gone. I only seek work, a place to stay. 5 credits, no entry," the clerk said sharply, snapping the terminal shut. "Next," the alien froze. "Please, next." The clerk barked again, pointing to the security guard nearby. Ethan watched the whole thing from 2 spots back in the line. He didn't know why, but something about the scene twisted in his chest. Maybe it was the way the alien's voice shook. Maybe it was how everyone else pretended not to notice. The alien stepped aside slowly, clutching the pouch close, its bright silver eyes dimming with quiet despair. Ethan looked down at his datapad again. 5 credits. He could afford it, barely, but he'd still have enough left for rent. He sighed, rubbing his jaw. "Guess I'll regret this later," he muttered. When his turn came, he stepped up to the counter and dropped a 10-credit chit on the desk. "Cover mine and his," he said, nodding toward the gray alien. The clerk frowned. "You know him?" "Nope." Ethan crossed his arms. "Just cover it." The clerk looked suspicious. "You sure? Refugees can't always pay you back." "Didn't ask for that." Ethan's tone was calm but firm. With a shrug, the clerk swiped the chit through the reader and handed Ethan his entry pass. "Fine, you're both cleared." Ethan took his pass, stepped aside, and nodded toward the alien. "You're good now." The alien blinked up at him, wide-eyed. You paid?" "Yeah, it was 5 credits. Don't make it a big thing." The alien hesitated, then bowed slightly, a gesture that seemed both respectful and ancient. "Why?" Ethan chuckled. "Why not? You looked like you needed help." The alien tried to speak, but the words didn't come. Instead, it clutched its pouch tightly and whispered, "Thank you, human. You have done more than you know." Ethan smiled faintly. "Sure, take care, all right?" And with that, he walked away, weaving through the crowd of travelers. The walk back to the lower docks took nearly 20 minutes. Dock 9 was massive, more like a floating city than a station. Through the windows, he could see the dark curve of the planet below, and the endless ocean of stars beyond it. Ships came and went every few seconds, freighters, passenger liners, and sleek alien cruisers that shimmered like glass. He thought about the alien for a while. The silver eyes, the trembling voice. He didn't know why it stuck in his mind. Maybe because nobody else had cared. Maybe because he'd once been in that position, broke, lost, and one bad day away from giving up. He shook his head. "Doesn't matter," he muttered. "Just a few credits." When he reached his small quarters in Section C12, the lights flickered again. He dropped his jacket on the chair, sat on the narrow bunk, and turned on the small holoscreen. The news was the same as always. Trade disputes, pirate raids, politics. Humanity was still trying to prove itself in the wider galaxy, struggling to earn respect among the older, advanced species. He watched for a few minutes. then switched it off. He didn't notice the tiny drone hovering outside his window, scanning his face and transmitting the data to a distant ship in silent bursts of blue light. Meanwhile, far above Dock 9, in a sleek vessel hidden within the shadow of an asteroid field, a group of beings gathered around a holographic display. At the center stood Rintar, the same alien Ethan had helped. The silver eyes now glowed brightly as he spoke in his native tongue. The others in the room, tall, elegant figures with crystal-like skin, listened intently. "Are you certain?" one asked. "A human showed you kindness unprompted?" "Yes," Rintar said softly. "He paid for me when all others turned away." No hesitation. No expectation. The others exchanged glances. "Then it is as the old record said," murmured one elder. "Perhaps the humans are not yet lost to violence and greed." Rintar looked toward the stars. "This one, Ethan Cole, he does not know what he has done. But I will not forget." He pressed a hand to the console. "Transmit my report to the Zorath Council. Tell them, humanity may yet be ready." Back on the station, Ethan dreamed of Earth. He dreamed of blue skies and oceans, of laughter and noise, of the kind of life he hadn't seen since he left for the stars. When he woke, the hum of the engines reminded him where he really was, alone in a steel box floating through the void. He got up, stretched, and prepared for another long day. He didn't know that across the galaxy, his name had already been spoken, in the halls of one of the oldest civilizations in existence. He didn't know that. Messengers were already traveling through slipspace to deliver a single message to the Galactic Council. A human has acted with compassion beyond reason, and somewhere, deep in the vast archives of alien history, a forgotten prophecy whispered once more, that one day, a single act of kindness would mark the beginning of a new age. As Ethan left his quarters and headed to work, he paused at a cafe window overlooking the stars. A freighter was leaving dock, engines glowing blue against the black. He smiled faintly. "Hope that little guy made it," he murmured to himself. Then he walked on, unaware that far beyond the light of that freighter, entire worlds had begun to take notice of one simple act, 5 credits freely given, an act that would soon change the course of the galaxy itself. To him, it was just another small event in a long list of forgettable days. He barely remembered the alien's name, Rintar or something like that. Life on the station had gone back to normal. Normal meant long hours, greasy machinery, and the constant hum of engines. He was repairing cargo haulers again, tightening bolts and sealing leaky fuel lines. The work was hard, dirty, and boring, but it paid enough to survive. Still, something had changed. He began to notice strange things. Every few days, new ships arrived at Dock 9, sleek silver vessels with strange insignias he didn't recognize. The crews didn't speak much and often stared at humans with quiet curiosity. Ethan shrugged it off at first, thinking they were just diplomats or rich traders. But then people started asking questions. One evening, while Ethan was fixing a broken engine stabilizer, a man in a dark blue uniform approached him. The uniform had no name tag, no rank, only a small emblem shaped like a star. "Ethan Cole?" the man asked. Ethan wiped his hands with a rag. "Yeah, that's me." "You need something fixed?" The man smiled politely. "Not exactly. We've received reports about an alien refugee you helped recently. Dock 9, Terminal C. You remember?" Ethan frowned. "That little gray guy?" "Sure, what about him?" "Just routine questioning," the man said smoothly. "We'd like to know if he gave you anything, said anything unusual." Ethan blinked. He said thank you. That's about it. The man studied him for a long moment, then nodded. "Understood. If you see him again, report it to station security immediately." "Why? He'd do something wrong?" "That's classified." Ethan folded his arms. "Then I guess I can't help you." The man's polite smile faded for a second, then returned. "Of course. Good day, Mr. Cole." When the man walked away, Ethan felt a strange chill. Something about that conversation didn't sit right. Later that night, he sat in a small cafe near the observation deck. Outside, the stars looked calm and endless. He drank cheap coffee and tried not to think about it. But as he looked out the window, he noticed a small drone hovering across the glass, watching him. When he turned to look directly at it, the drone zipped away into the darkness. "Okay," he muttered. "That's not creepy at all." Far away on the glittering world of Zorath Prime, A council of alien diplomats gathered in a circular chamber made of living crystal. In the center stood Rintar. His voice was steady, but his hands trembled slightly as he addressed the High Council. The human, Ethan Cole, acted without gain. He saw me, refused entry, and offered aid freely. No reward, no recognition. Pure compassion. The chamber glowed softly as hundreds of alien faces turned toward him, some skeptical, others curious. One of the elder delegates, a tall being made of golden light, spoke. "Are you certain he was not influenced by trade or emotion?" "Humans are impulsive by nature." Rintar bowed. "I am certain Elder Voran, his own people ignored me." He alone stepped forward. The council whispered among themselves. For centuries, the Zorath Confederacy had observed humanity from afar. They saw humans as unpredictable, a young, ambitious race that had spread quickly through the stars, building colonies and alliances, but also fighting wars and taking risks no other species dared. Now, after Rintar's report, that opinion began to shift. Elder Voran looked at the others. "If what you say is true, perhaps humanity's time has come. We must see this human for ourselves." Rintar nodded. "He believes it was nothing. That is what makes it everything." Back on Dock 9, Ethan's week only got weirder. His coworker, Mara, nudged him during lunch break. "Hey, you see the new ships docked at Bay 4? They're not from around here." Ethan smirked. "You mean the shiny ones with no markings?" "Yeah, hard to miss." "They've been asking around about you," she said. "Your name came up." Ethan froze mid-bite. "Me? What for?" "No idea. But you're becoming famous, Cole." She laughed, but he didn't. That night, when he returned to his small room, the door slid open before he could reach for the panel. The lights flickered once and a familiar voice spoke. "Ethan Cole." He turned, and there stood Rintar, silver eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Ethan's jaw dropped. Where did you come from?" Rintar smiled faintly. "You helped me once. Now I have come to return that kindness." Ethan frowned. "Look, I didn't do anything special. Just paid a fee." The alien shook his head. "To you, yes. But to others, it changed everything." Rintar stepped closer, his cloak shimmering faintly. "You must come with me, Ethan. The Council of the Confederacy wishes to meet you." Ethan blinked. "The who of the what now?" "The oldest alliance in the galaxy," Rintar said quietly. "For 1,000 years we have watched your species, uncertain if you were ready to join the greater community. Many feared your wars and anger, but your act proved something different." Ethan rubbed his forehead. "You can't be serious." "I am." He hesitated, then looked out the small window at the stars. "Why me? I'm just a mechanic." "Exactly," Rintar said softly. "You are not a soldier, not a leader. You acted simply because it was right. That is why they want to meet you." Hours later, Ethan found himself aboard a sleek alien ship. The walls shimmered like liquid glass and the air smelled faintly of ozone. Outside, Dock 9 grew smaller and smaller until it vanished into the darkness. He sat in silence, watching the stars blur past the window as the ship entered faster than light travel. Rintar stood beside him. "You look worried." Ethan gave a dry laugh. "I fix engines, not galaxies. And now I'm meeting alien diplomats? Yeah, I'm worried. You have nothing to fear," Rintar said gently. "They seek understanding, not judgment." "Tell that to the guys who came asking questions," Ethan muttered. Rintar tilted his head. "Government agents?" "Something like that." The alien frowned. "Then time is short. Others may not wish for peace between our kinds." They arrived at Zorath Prime, a shining world of silver oceans and floating crystal cities. Ethan stared in awe as the ship descended through glowing clouds. Thousands of alien ships moved in elegant patterns around the planet like fireflies in orbit. When they landed, Rintar led him into a vast hall filled with alien delegates. Their forms were strange. Some were made of light, others of mist, others covered in delicate scales. Ethan felt small and clumsy among them. A voice echoed through the hall. "Ethan, Cole of Earth, step forward." He swallowed hard and did as told. An elder being made of pure golden energy floated closer. "We have heard of your action. You showed kindness where others showed indifference. Tell us why." Ethan looked around at the crowd. "Because someone had to. I didn't think about it." He needed help. The elder's light flickered brighter. "You expected no reward?" Ethan shrugged. "Didn't need one." The hall went silent for several moments. Then the elder spoke again, voice soft but clear. Then it is true. The humans still carry the spark. Whispers spread through the room. After the meeting, Rintar found him standing near a balcony overlooking the shining city below. You did well, Rintar said. Ethan laughed quietly. I just told the truth. Didn't realize honesty was such a big deal here. To us, Rintar said, it means everything. There are species in this galaxy that act only for gain, but you acted for good. The council will vote soon. If they approve, humanity will be invited into the Confederacy as equals. Ethan raised his eyebrows. So, because I bought you a ticket, Earth gets a seat at the big table? Rintar smiled. Sometimes the galaxy changes with small gestures. But before Ethan could answer, the room lights dimmed suddenly. A warning tone filled the air. Rintar's expression changed to alarm. Someone has breached the planetary network. Ethan turned toward the glowing city below, ships rising fast from the surface, their engines red instead of blue. Rintar whispered, Not everyone wants peace. As sirens blared across Zorath Prime, Ethan realized his small act of kindness had become something far larger than he ever imagined. And in the deep void beyond the stars, unseen eyes watched the world below, ready to strike. The galaxy had taken notice of humanity, and not all of it was friendly. The day of the Galactic Summit dawned bright on Voth Prime, a glittering world of crystal cities and floating platforms. Ethan Cole stood nervously among the assembled delegates, still wearing his old cargo jacket slightly out of place in the polished hall of alien grandeur. He looked around. Thousands of beings from hundreds of species filled the massive chamber. Some floated above the floor, others hovered on delicate limbs, and a few shimmered as pure light. Banners of countless colors fluttered in invisible currents of air. The hum of communication devices, soft chatter, and shifting footfalls filled the room. Rintar stayed close by, his silver eyes glowing faintly. Stay calm, he whispered. They have already voted in your favor. Humanity will be accepted, if this day passes safely. Ethan's stomach twisted. What could possibly go wrong now? Rintar's gaze darkened. There are those who oppose the idea of humans as equals. They fear your species. They fear change. Before Ethan could reply, alarms blared through the summit chamber. Red lights flashed across the crystalline walls. The delegates froze, panic spreading like wildfire. A booming voice echoed through the hall in a language Ethan did not understand, but the tone carried pure menace. Suddenly, blasts of energy tore through the balconies above, and alarms shouted that intruders had breached the summit's security. Ethan's heart raced. People were screaming, scattering in all directions. He saw alien delegates floating mid-air, trying to escape the blasts. The attackers, a group of heavily armed Krath Dominion soldiers, were moving quickly and efficiently, aiming to kill the council members and frame humanity. Rintar grabbed Ethan's arm. We must act! Ethan's instincts kicked in. He didn't have weapons, didn't know tactics, but he knew courage when it mattered. Stay behind me, Ethan said as he sprinted toward the control panels lining the walls. Sparks flew around them as the room shook. With shaking hands, he started flipping switches, opening blast doors, and activating emergency life support systems. Rintar watched, amazed. Incredible. The human adapts under pressure. Ethan didn't answer. His focus was on keeping the delegates alive. He pulled a group of panicked delegates behind a reinforced energy barrier. Everyone in here. Stay down! Blasts ripped through the hall near them. The floor shuddered. Ethan's hands shook, but he worked faster, overriding locks and stabilizing the hall's gravity fields. A Krath soldier tried to push past him. Ethan grabbed a heavy cable from the floor, swinging it with all his strength. The soldier toppled over, stunned. Ethan didn't pause. He ran to the next console, pushing buttons, rerouting power, sealing doors. Rintar muttered under his breath, Every action you take, it's exactly what the council needs to see. After what felt like an eternity, the attackers were contained in a sealed corridor. Security forces, both human and alien, rushed in to apprehend them. The room fell silent, except for the hum of damaged machinery and the soft cries of frightened delegates. Ethan sank to the floor, exhausted, his body trembling from adrenaline. Rintar knelt beside him. You have saved them. All of them. And humanity's place here is now secure. Ethan shook his head. I just did what I thought was right. I didn't do this for fame or credit, Rintar smiled. And that is exactly why the galaxy will remember you. One act of courage, one act of kindness, it defines a species. In the days following the attack, the Galactic Council officially voted to approve the Human Accord. Humanity was no longer an observer, an outsider, or a subject of skepticism. For the first time in recorded galactic history, humans were considered equals in the interstellar community. Ethan returned to Earth a hero, not a warrior or politician, but a simple mechanic whose small act of kindness and courage had sparked a chain reaction that changed the galaxy. Back on Dock 9, life resumed its normal rhythm. Cargo freighters arrived, traders shouted, and the hum of engines filled the air. Ethan went back to work, still cleaning engines, still fixing faulty wiring. But now, everywhere he went, there was a quiet acknowledgement. People, humans, and aliens alike nodded at him with respect. Rintar stayed for a while longer, helping to teach Ethan about the wider galaxy, about diplomacy, and about the fragile threads that connected worlds. They shared stories, meals, and moments of laughter. You know, Ethan said one evening as they watched a shuttle disappear into the stars, I never imagined paying a 5-credit fee could lead to this. Rintar's silver eyes glimmered. Most beings never realize that small acts matter. But humans, you have a spark that the galaxy cannot ignore. For the first time, Ethan understood. Every decision, every small choice, even one as simple as helping a stranger, could ripple across worlds. Months later, the first human delegation traveled to Zorath Prime to meet the council officially. Ethan stood among them, now an advisor of sorts, though he still preferred hands-on work to politics. He watched as humans and aliens exchanged ideas, technology, and culture. A small child tugged at his sleeve. Did you really save the galaxy? The child asked, wide-eyed. Ethan laughed softly. Not by myself, I just did what seemed right, and it turned out to be enough. Rintar placed a hand on Ethan's shoulder. It was enough because you acted without expectation. That is what makes humans remarkable. That is why your species will thrive. Ethan looked out at the stars from the observation deck. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved gracefully through the orbit, connected in ways he could never have imagined. He realized something profound. Kindness and courage were not weaknesses. They were the strongest tools in the universe. Even the smallest human action, like paying a fare, could grow into a force that united worlds. The Galactic Council held a ceremony in Ethan's honor. Delegates from thousands of worlds came to recognize the human who had changed their perception of an entire species. He stood humbly before the assembly, wearing his familiar jacket, hands in his pockets. One of the elder aliens, a being made entirely of shimmering crystal, spoke. Let this be a lesson to all. The measure of a species is not in its weapons or wealth, but in the choices it makes, the kindness it shows, and the courage it bears when faced with the impossible. Ethan nodded, quietly grateful. He didn't need applause or fame. He needed only to know that one small act had made a difference. After the ceremony, he walked with Rintar to the edge of the floating platform. The stars stretched infinitely bright and endless. You think humanity is ready? Ethan asked. Rintar smiled. More than ready. Humans are just beginning to show what they can do. And it all started with a single simple act. Ethan chuckled. Guess paying that fee was worth it. Rintar's silver eyes glimmered with quiet approval. More than you can imagine. The galaxy remembers. Ethan watched the stars and felt a sense of peace he had never known. He was just one human among billions, but one human's choices had sparked hope, friendship, and unity across the galaxy. And in the endless night of space, every star seemed a little brighter, every world a little closer, because a human had dared to act with kindness. The galaxy would never forget.